We got issues, Heat fans. Fifth straight loss last night to the Boston Celtics, and oh boy, are there issues we have to dive into. The previous 4 games, it was all offense. Yesterday, well, the Heat actually had a decent offensive night, but they gave up 143 points. What needs to change for this Heat team to get back on track? I'll break it down for you and name a potential trade that might have to happen for things to start heading in a positive direction. But first, the Heat need our help. Do you want the 5-game losing streak to come to a close? The Heat win on Saturday in New York in Madison Square Garden against the Knicks. Like the video, the goal is 250 likes. If we get to that number today, well, I think the Heat will actually win on Saturday. All right, let's jump into what has been the issue and why we're talking about this. Because the Heat's last 5 games, cover your eyes, folks. This is as ugly as it gets. It started last Wednesday with a loss in Toronto where they got boat raced by the Raptors. I thought that was the most embarrassing loss of the season. I didn't think it could get worse until we come down here to last night against the Celtics where you give up 143 points. But the common theme before the Celtics game was the offense. 97, 108, 87, 96. Those are unacceptable numbers in today's NBA where teams are just flat out scoring 115 plus a night. If you're not getting close to 110 on a nightly basis, you're going to struggle to win basketball games in today's NBA. And specifically in January, it has been horrific on the offensive side of the floor. They are the 28th ranked team in offensive rating in this month. The month is almost over. The Heat have a 5-8 record in 2024, and it's thanks to that horrible offensive number. I will give the defense credit outside of last night. So in the first 12 games of this January and this year, the defense has been pretty solid. They're still tied for 7th in the top 10, but that offensive rating has to turn around if the Heat want to win ball games. And that kind of brings me to this point. The offense finally looked good for Miami last night, and I think there were some specific reasons on why the Heat's offense finally looked competent, and they were able to score 110 points before garbage time, so I don't really count what happened down the last 5 or 6 minutes. So they were on pace with the starters to get more than 110 in my eyes. But the reason why I think last night something changed is because the Heat stopped relying on so many mid-range jumpers. We'll talk about the shot distribution of Tyler Herro, Bam, and Jimmy Butler in just a second. But there has been too many mid-range jumpers. Josh Richardson takes too many. Herro takes too many. Butler lives on it, and that's where Bam lives as well. But last night, they took a little bit more three-pointers, which is why I think it turned around. And I think it's worth pointing out, well, it's no surprise that the Heat's offense has struggled because Adebayo's offense has fallen off a little bit of a cliff. What made him so effective in the first 3 months of the season, October, November, and December? He was dominating in the mid-range. In the last 10 games the Miami Heat have played, so almost the entire month of January, 3 of 28 in the mid-range. That is not the painted area. That is inside the three-point arc, outside of the painted area. So that little strip. But my goodness, 3 of 28. Someone call an Atlanta Falcons fan because that is ugly. And I want to dive into more of the shot distribution from the other guys on the floor as well. We'll talk about Bam. And I want to start with Tyler because he takes the most shots on the Miami Heat. He's got the highest usage rate on offense, and he's taken the most shots in volume. And here's the distribution. Restricted area 57, in the paint non-restricted area. So this is his floater game. He gets a foot or 2 feet in the painted area, pulls up from 10 feet, either that one-legged push shot or a 2-foot jumper. He shoots that the most out of any shot outside of the above the break 3. But here's the interesting thing. The mid-range numbers, again, for Tyler Herro are not good. So that range between the three-point line and the painted area is horrific for Tyler Herro, and you've seen Bam Adebayo's numbers in the last 10 games where that has been bad. You were relying on too many deep twos, and that is just not a sustainable offense. They were going in October, November, and December. In the month of January, they have not been, and I think that's the main reason why the Heat's offense has struggled. Now let's go to Bam Adebayo's shot distribution. First of all, I want to mention restricted area, so in that little circle, really close, 2 to 4 feet to the rim. I got to be honest, Bam, this got to be better. 68.6% from that. You're 2 feet away, 4 feet from the basket. You have to be better at finishing around the rim, as we call you a top 3 center in the league. You got to finish better at the rim if you're going to be in that top 3 discussion. A lot can be put on the Heat guards for not finding him on rolls and in lob scenarios, but still, I think he's got to be better. But I once again want to focus on the mid-range. 136 shots from Bam. So he has made a conservative effort to take more shots in that range this year to grow his bag, you could say, on offense. 34.6%. That's just not gonna bode well. And then let's go to Jimmy Butler, who has not played that often and has not taken a lot of shots either as well. But again, the mid-range. That's where Jimmy likes to play. 35.6%. Painted area, 46%. Finishing. Jimmy's as good as a finisher almost as Bam Adebayo in 61.6% in the restricted area. That's more of an indictment on Bam. But once again, I'd say Jimmy shooting under 50% in that paint, that's not good either. One thing I do want to mention with Butler before we move on, corner threes. Jimmy, catch them and shoot them. Do not pump fake and just reset the offense like you like to do. You are shooting above 50% from both corners at the three-point land. If you catch them and they leave you open, which most teams do, shoot them because you are making them. He did that last night, and guess what? He had 3 triples after making 3 triples the game before that, or on Sunday, I should say, against the Orlando Magic. So what is my main takeaway from these shot distributions? The reason why I showed them to all of you. Well, when your 3 best shooters and players, I should say, all like to shoot it from 8 to 16 feet the majority of the time and are all shooting below 44% from that mark, you're going to have offensive issues. They're taking analytically bad shots, and they're not making them. I know a lot of people get bored of the analytic talks of the 3 and just layups. That's all you should be taking. I like to mix in the mid-range because it brings a little versatility to your offense. But when that's your number one thing that your 3 best players do, yeah, you might have issues, which is why I'm going to talk about what Tyler might have to do here in just a second. But what do you think the Heat's biggest issue is? The defense obviously was bad last night. We're just going to disregard that and focus on the offense right now. What is the Heat's biggest issue in 2024? I also think the question has to be asked, what do the Heat have to do to fix these issues? Is it going to be something internal, or does it have to be something where they have to look outward and potentially make another trade? If it's internal, and this is what I was alluding to, I think Jimmy has to be willing to shoot more catch-and-shoot threes. I get he does not want to shoot the ball 20 times a night like Tyler Herro does. But teams are leaving you open at the three-point mark. You've made it known that you can knock down these shots based on your percentages, but you refuse to shoot them at a higher volume. Jimmy, if you're open and you're watching this video, shoot the damn 3. I promise you, no one is going to be upset if you take an open three-pointer on the catch. It just provides better spacing for this Heat offense as well. But now let's go to Tyler Herro, because the same goes for him. Enough with the pump fake, little hezzy drive in for the mid-range shot. Shoot the 3 ball if you're left open on the catch. Last night, he shot 7 threes just straight off the catch, no hesitation, put it right up. 3 of 7. That's more than 40%, by the way. To unlock this Heat offense, I'm not saying Tyler Herro has to eliminate the isolation, take people off the dribble, get to his spot in the mid-range game. That does not need to be eliminated. But to elevate this offense, he needs to be more willing to play in a Klay Thompson role. Hell, even play a Duncan Robinson role sometimes where you're used coming off screens, pin downs, curls, and just going right into your shot. And if they overplay you, well, then that's when you pump fake and get inside or drop it off to Adebayo. I think Herro's a better player for this Heat team when he's no hesitation on the catch and shoot threes rather than running an isolation offense and him being the primary ball handler initiating the offense. That's what I think needs to change for this Heat offense to really take it to a next step. But I do also have a trade that I want to talk about that can solve Heat offensive issues and defensive issues because, well, that game against Boston did tell me a lot on the defensive end, even though I did want to focus on the offense. before we get to that trade. Make sure you join the channel because the Heat trade rumors leading up to the trade deadline are not going to go away. Let's get closer to 7,500 subs. Let's get there on this video, and let's get to 8,000 subs. Join us because you won't want to miss our coverage for the trade deadline. All right, the trade that I wanted to bring up, it's quite a doozy. We're shipping out 4 players plus the available picks that we have to offer right now. But we're getting Dorian Finney-Smith and Day'Ron Sharpe in return from the Brooklyn Nets. We're sending out Caleb Martin, Nikola Jovic, Thomas Bryant, Drew Smith, our 2030 first-round pick, and our 2026 second-round pick via the Los Angeles Lakers. Those are the only picks we can offer at the deadline before the offseason. And those 4 players, I think they're expendable for these 2 guys. We'll talk more in depth about it in a second. But I just got to let y'all know, $30 off right now a Miami Heat polo when you go to chatsports.com/Heat polo. I actually know someone specifically who ordered this exact polo using our link and sent me a picture. It looked sweet. If you want to get on the show, go to chatsports.com/Heat polo, and when that polo comes in, where you get $30 off, take a picture of you wearing it, send a picture to me on Twitter at Nic_Rohloff, and we'll show you on the show. It's going to be in the comments and description of today's video. Go take advantage of that sale. One more time, chatsports.com/Heat polo. All right, let's acquire Dorian Finney-Smith because he brings a lot of good things to the table. The offense isn't going to be something that sticks out to you. He's a PJ Tucker type player that is just better at everything. He's more athletic. He is more, efficient at hitting his shots from beyond the arc. He's also more of a volume scorer, even though it's really just in the flow of the offense. You're never going to throw the ball to him and say, hey, go get a bucket. But Finney-Smith can absolutely shoot the ball in catch-and-shoot scenarios. He's actually had a horrific month, just like the Miami Heat. So maybe both can merge together and move things forward in February and beyond. But these numbers for Dorian Finney-Smith, they were like 40% from 3, 44% from the field before this month of January, where he's shooting 20% from beyond the arc. It's been a rough 2024 for DFS, but it's been one for Miami. Maybe those 2 can turn it around. The reason why you would trade for Dorian Finney-Smith is his fit next to Jimmy and Bam at that 4 spot and his ability to defend. And listen, this is just one game that I wanted to point out that I saw circulating on Twitter just a couple nights ago. But when the Nets and Clippers played, Dorian Finney-Smith proved to the entire NBA and should prove to you why he'd be a great addition. Against the Clippers, he allowed 9 points. He had 9 rebounds and had 1 block. Excuse me. That's what I meant to say. But on defense, 3 of 15 shooting against him, 0 of 1 from 3. And in specific scenarios where he was defending Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, 2 of the best wings, 2 of the best two-way players in the NBA, they combined for 3 points and 1 of 8 shooting when defended by DFS. He is an elite defender, and y'all saw it last night. The Heat got cooked. They could not switch. For Finney-Smith, even though he's only 6'7", 6'8", his wingspan, his stockiness allows him to defend up in position, so you can switch him and Adebayo and not get completely cooked, but it would allow you to also defend the Tatums, the Jaylen Browns in switch scenarios, having another wing alongside Jimmy Butler that can shut down the opposing wings in the NBA. Dorian Finney-Smith would be a perfect addition, and he screams Heat culture. The other guy in the trade, though, Day'Ron Sharpe, I did want to mention because, well, Thomas Bryant ain't it, man. He had a decent stretch yesterday in a 2-minute spurt in the second quarter, but you can tell that when the Heat have to face bigger teams like Boston, like they will with Milwaukee, they just can't handle their size inside. And sure, the offense wouldn't fit perfectly with Sharpe and Bam if they had to play together. But it would give you at least another center that can give you 16 quality minutes off the bench when Bam sits down. And in absolute necessary scenarios, you could play the 2 together and have a really good interior defense, because when Boston ran Al Horford and Porzingis, or even Luke Kornet, Al Horford, Kornet and Porzingis, they were cooking us because our 4 guy was either Haywood, Highsmith, and Jimmy. They'd get it to Kristaps at the elbow, and he'd rise up for an easy jumper and knock it down because we just are too little to defend that. We need another big man. I think Sharpe coming in as a backup center would be ideal. And to be honest, I'm sick and tired of Caleb Martin. His experiment, I should say, I'm done. He shot 2 of 12 yesterday. He takes bad shots. He, like Jimmy, is hesitant to shoot the open catch-and-shoot 3. He likes to do a little pump fake, drive in for a tough floater, or maybe jab step, sit there for a second, and launch a 3. We just need better smooth fits on these teams. I don't think Caleb Martin does it. And since you won't be able to retain him in the offseason because of Terry Rozier's contract, putting you right up against that second apron, just trade him now, use that first-round pick, and really upgrade this roster. But let me know, would you accept this trade on today's show? Type A for accept, type D for decline. Let me know if you think this would solve the Heat's issues offensively and defensively by typing those A's. As I mentioned earlier, we are going to have you covered on the latest rumors leading up to the NBA trade deadline, which is 13 days away. So hit that sub button. Don't miss any piece of Miami Heat news or rumors with the Heat Report. We also go live multiple times a week for watch parties. We'll be live on Saturday for a game against the New York Knicks. Hopefully the Heat can win that one and better see you there. So join us by hitting that sub button today.